What's up, everybody? I'm just kidding. Hi guys, my name is Vinny, and this is my '91 Acura NSX. First, I gotta say thank you to Cullen for including me in the story. Love you, boy. But yeah, I got into cars. I guess you could say not really in the most conventional way. I guess I didn't grow up with cars. Or I didn't grow up with building a car like an EK or an EG like a lot of people do, or like a Civic. I actually got into cars back in high school. I believe it was like junior year, and my friend John Lon, he had a '91 DA, and he would just be doing typical high school stuff, just womping around the neighborhood, womping around the parking lot, and just kind of being a little bit ignorant, right? But it kind of just sparked my interest, and I guess me and him, we were hanging out, and there was other guys that were in the cars too at the school. So at the time, I just had my '06 Civic, which I still have now as my daily. We would mob around. We would go cruising, and I guess you could say at that point it was one of those things where I wanted to get more into cars and kind of be more immersed in the culture, I guess you could say. So it wasn't until after we graduated, I guess I went to my first meet or show. I believe it was tailored. What was it? God, it was that one event down at Cheney Stadium that Stance Wars was putting on. It was tailored. Oh, it was tailored Seattle, and at the time. I was just getting into taking photos, and so I guess you could say my start with cars was doing photography, and that's how I met a lot of people. But went to Tailored Seattle, and I kind of had a blast because it was kind of my first, I guess, interaction with other people that were into cars, and I guess seeing other, I guess you could say other builds, and just the builds that were around here in Seattle. And I think this was back in 2011, if I recall correctly, or even 2012. Anyways, after that, I moved down to Tacoma, and then I didn't really have a lot of friends that were car people down there. But what I ended up doing was I drove down to Week Fest San Fran at Fort Mason. So John, my friend Kenny, Kevin, and Calvin Lee with the red S2000. At the time, his S2000 was red, and some other friends. We decided to mob down to the Bay, and this was gonna be my first time doing a long road trip. And so it was Calvin's car. I was in my Civic, and we just mobbed down. And when we got down there, it blew my mind. For me being I guess you could say not so involved or not participating fully in a lot of the car stuff up here, my introduction to Week Fest down in Cali and the Cali scene, I was yo, shit down here is totally different. Cause I mean, going to Tailored Seattle, and I believe I went to a few other meets here and there, if I recall, Golden Gardens or something like that. We have some good builds up here, but to be honest, Cali has, I guess you could say a different, I don't want to say level, but just different types of builds. A lot of them they throw a lot of money into it, and half the time they just they sell it or whatever. But anyways, going down to Week Fest was actually a blast, and just seeing all the cars down there and just seeing the different types of builds was just something that I wanted to do for something for myself, and so after that, I believe I started going to FD. I went to see I believe I went to Stance War Seattle. I went to Forum Fest. And I started going to more and more shows, and taking photos, and that's when I started meeting more people. I met Cullen, I met those guys that from up in Everett. I met Andrew Long Pukti, or long last name, but at the time Stock Customs, Long and Hector and all those guys. And at that point I started when I was living in Tacoma still, I would go up to Everett to like link up with them, meet at their shop, and like just hang out and kind of just learn more about cars and just anything really. But then after that, I started going to like 2012, 2013. I started going to like Week Fest LA, Week Fest like San Jose, and like just kind of again just immersing myself more with like the different cars and stuff like that. And I was still whipping around my 2006 Honda Civic, just my daily driver. Well, I guess you could say my only driver at the time. And I would take pictures and just meeting more people. And then I started shooting for NW Built at the time. I got to give a shout out to Zach Taji for giving me that opportunity to contribute, because I also met more people through that, and kind of not just like casually like meeting them at like shows and meets and stuff like that, but actually getting to talk to them. So like Frankie Chan was like his DA was like the first car that I shot, and then there was Vernon and his RSX, and so I guess you could say those are like my first like proper shoots or whatever. And then like I got to meet those guys and talk to them more, and I guess you could say, being a part of this car community, whatever, I really got to meet a lot of people. And this is even before I had the NSX, and so I honestly think that like you don't really have to have a car to really, be immersed in all this, or, meet new people. It's just like, if you got a cool attitude, if you're a chill person, go up to people, talk to them, because like everyone around here is like super chill and like, willing to talk to you and willing to like engage with you, right? So around 2014, I got a full-time, I started my job full-time at Sparta, and I was like, I'm gonna treat myself. I'm gonna look for a car, and I'm gonna actually try to build one myself. And at the time, I didn't know how to drive a manual. I had friends that would be willing to teach me. I tried a couple times, and like it was all in my head. Like I didn't want to fuck up someone's clutch. I didn't want to mess up their car in any sort of way. So it was just like I guess you could say I prevented myself from learning how to drive stick early on. But yeah, so I was like, what, fuck it. I'm gonna find a manual, and I'm gonna learn in it. And like and to be honest, like the NSX was like nowhere in my like radar, I guess you could say. I was looking at like FDs, I was looking at like air-cooled Porsches, a lot of the older cars, I was looking at newer cars. And it wasn't until my friend and coworker Duck, he was like, hey, there's this NSX down in Oakland for sale for $28K. And I was like, okay, like, and like I hit up my bank and I asked them to do like a pre-approval for like a loan. And they gave me the numbers, and I was like, what? Like, did the math. I'm like, it's doable. And it was one of those things where like, I know that the thing of taking a loan out for a car is dumb, because it's a depreciating value, asset. I mean, but it's one of those things where this car, it's an appreciating asset. So I was like, fuck it, why not, right? And so it literally was like a 3-4 day process. So it was like Wednesday. Called my bank, asked for to get pre-approved, and then the same day I hit up the guy like, hey, is this car still available? Thursday I got approved, and the guy said, hey, like someone's gonna be looking at the car, I'll let you know what's up. And then Friday I hit him up again. I was like, hey, did the guy go look at the car yet? And the guy was like, no, but we're about to go do this pre-approval inspection or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, I really want the car, so can I like swoop it underneath him or something like that? I'll throw you like $500, $1,000 your way. And the guy was like, sure, why not? And so I guess you could say I secured the car. And it wasn't until Sunday I bought myself and my buddy John a plane ticket down to California, down to Oakland. And we met up with my buddy Eric down there, and he went to come see the car with us too. And because I didn't know how to drive stick at the time, John, he drove it around the block to make sure that it was all Gucci. Like, I looked at it, and he listened to it mechanically and all that stuff. Because again, like I have a passion for cars, and like I love cars, but I'm not like super mechanically inclined. Like I'm learning, but I didn't know much. And so he took it around the block with the owner, and like he said it was all good. And so made the deal, and then John drove the car up for me from Oakland all the way back to our office in Redmond, which I really got to thank him for that. And that whole time I was just trying to keep it quiet, because like I didn't want to like really tell no one, because it was one of the things where like I kind of wanted to surprise everyone, because when I did finally like kind of announce it, I guess you could say, like a lot of people were like surprised, and like they were because a lot of my friends, they tease me like, oh, you're finally gonna learn how to drive stick, da 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 da, and I'm like, yeah, like I just had to jump into it. And so I guess you could say, I wouldn't say like the shitty thing about it, but at the time the car had like a 6-putt clutch in it, and so like it was like on and off, and it was funny when I posted the car up, and like obviously some people who knew that I didn't know how to drive stick, even Cullen commented on the photos like, okay, rev it to 3,000 and just let it rip. That next month, I was like practicing and like coming after work, just driving it around Redmond, just around the office, around the block. And then it wasn't until like Thanksgiving was when I actually like drove it up to my mom's, and like drove it in traffic and all that stuff. And like it felt pretty good, because like it was one of the things where like I was like stoked about it. But yeah, and so this October will be 5 years having the car, and it's there's been some pain in the butts, but a lot of it has been pure enjoyment. I actually got back from driving from Cali just yesterday, and so that was a fun trip. I did that last year, and then we did it this year for Austin's pop-up for Never Content. And so yeah, like even last year, driving it down and driving back up, like there was no issues or anything like that. Actually, before we took it down to Cali last week, I had to take the car up to Guillermo, because and if you guys don't know, he's like the local like NSX like guru. He's like the guy to go to. He doesn't only work on just NSXs. He works on like other Hondas and Acuras and stuff like that too. So if you want to make the drive up to Bellingham, check him out. But yeah, no, he was checking out my car, and he was replacing like some of like the worn like wheel bearings and hubs and whatnot. And I got the car like aligned and corner balanced, and like this drive was literally like the first time the car was like ever like felt like super solid, because I guess like when I've replaced the wheel bearings a few times, but then he noticed that like the hubs themselves, they were like going out of spec, and so like that's, even though it felt like my wheel bearing was like going loose, he figured that it was my hubs. So anyways, so when we were driving down and even driving back up, like I hit the car, I hit like 100, 120 in the car for like the first time, and like I was just like super like, yo, like this shit's fucking solid. Because like last year, since my alignment wasn't exactly the greatest, or like some of like the parts weren't new, or they were kind of worn, like my steering wheel would like vibrate as I'm like hitting like high speeds. And so it was really I guess not, I wouldn't say eye-opening or life-changing or whatever bullshit, but like it just felt nice to have the car like firmly planted and just in a good spot, right? But yeah, I mean, even though I have the car now, it's like I've met a lot more people with the car. It's one of those things where like I feel like if I was still just taking photos or whatever, like I would still be meeting new people, and still meeting making new friends at every event or whatever, just because like I think a lot of the guys up here, they're super like approachable, and like they'll be willing to talk to you and teach you or give you tips about things, because like I think like what Jeff said in his story time, like if you don't know, don't be afraid to ask, or even like just like look it up yourself, right? Because a lot of stuff that I had to learn with this car, especially, I was looking it up myself, and like I'm going through this journey and of like actually modding. This is like my first car that I'm modding, and learning the ins and outs of this car, and potentially other cars down the line. So like for me, it's like I'm not trying to be like, oh, just because I have an NSX, I'm hot shit. Like at the end of the day, for me, it's just like I have a car that's lowered on wheels. That's the simple fact of the matter. Is like, yeah, enter this show, your car will definitely get in. It's an NSX. I'm like, yeah, but at the end of the day, if you look at it, it's just a car that's lowered on wheels. There's other guys that's got more work done in their cars, and like they know more than I do about cars, and it's just like you see the hard work that they put into their cars. And I'm not saying that I didn't put a lot of hard work into it, but like when people try to hype me up just because I have this car, it's like I'm good. I know that I have an NSX, but whatever. Like it's one of those things where I'm just fortunate, and I'm blessed to be able to have this car, but also meet other people and other I guess you say enthusiasts with the car, because like I don't know, I think these days a lot of people, they're kind of hold on, there's a car passing, hold on. I think a lot of people are kind of having their noses in the air, because especially I hate to say like younger generation, because I'm only 26, so I'm like not, I'm not old, right? But I want to say like a lot of the younger car guys, right? They kind of have their noses in the air, because they kind of think that they're hot shit or whatever, and like they're just building their cars just for that popularity, and they're trying to just, I guess you could say, like the kids say, trying to get that clout. But that was dumb, but whatever. But like essentially, like a lot of kids, like they're just trying to get that clout, or those scene points, because they think that doing like burnouts and like peeling off at like meets and stuff like that is cool. But at the end of the day, it's like you do realize that whoever's hosting the meet or hosting the show, you do that type of shit and no one can come back, or the property owners, whatever, would not be willing to let the entity host that event again, and it kind of ruins the fun for everyone. So I really think that a lot of people, they kind of not a lot of people, but again, a lot of like the younger car guys, they need to be more open-minded when taking advice or getting critique, I guess you could say, from some of the older guys, or some of the OGs, whatever, because it's one of those things where, yeah, you have a cool car, like and we see the amount of work that you've put into it, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you can kind of like act out, and kind of be ignorant. There's times to be ignorant, because I like to be ignorant too, but at the same time, you got to respect the venue, you got to respect your elders, or respect people that are trying to help you. Not everyone's a hater, not everyone's just trying to bash on you. Like sometimes maybe just take in what they say and really think about it, like, okay, maybe is this guy really like trying to help me out, or is he just bullshitting me? And majority of the time, especially with a lot of guys in this community, they're just trying to help you. And so I think that's one of the biggest like learning things for me is like I've been able to reach out to people, and like, yeah, I might think that it's a stupid question, but I generally don't know, or like I haven't been able to find it out online. And so I've asked people. Anytime I have any questions, I ask like my roommates, like Austin and Herod, or like my friends, and they're willing to help me out. And even to be honest with you, like I was trying to figure out like what's like the best like tire sizes that I can get, so that I'm not trying to fuck up my fenders. And finally, like, because they're more well versed than I am with all that, and so like they were, and I looked to other NSX owners and see what their what sizes they were running, and like a lot of guys, they came back to me like, hey, you should you run 235s in the front and 275s in the rear, and so it's just like, even something as small as that, like to be honest, like I'm not super knowledgeable about it and stuff like that, but I'm willing to kind of just not save face, but I guess swallow my own ego and own pride to ask those questions, because at the end of the day, it's like if you don't know, like why try to act like you know it all, it doesn't do you any good, and it prevents you from growing, right? And so, but yeah, I mean, combining taking photos and getting this car, it's definitely both of those things. I wouldn't say one thing or the other is really opened my eyes or opened the doors for me with relationships with people, but I would say that both of them really helped hand in hand for me to meet people. Like, I met Cullen through taking photos first, and I met a lot of guys through taking photos, and then I've also met a lot of guys through the car, because they've been attracted to it, or they've come up to it, and I'm always, for me, it's like I'm always open to talk to people. Like it's one of those things where, like, at an event or something like that, if you see the DJ, like Sean, he knows that I like to dance, and like he'll put on Cupid Shuffle or some song, and he'll know, like, I'll bust out in a little routine, you know what I mean? So yeah, so it's just like one of those things where, like, I really think that you don't need to really be like, oh, I'm hot shit or whatever, but just keep it chill, keep it down to earth, and be able to talk to people, because at the end of the day, there's always someone that that probably looks up to you and wants to learn from you. But if they think that you're just a douchebag or whatever, then why would they want to come talk to you? And I don't want to say that, like, everyone should try to be like the most popular guy or whatever, but I think being personable and being open to talk about your build or talk about their builds, in like, I guess you say in like an adult way, I guess or whatever, it really helps, because but yeah, so whenever anyone would come up to my car, and they'd ask about it, it's not like, oh, I drive this, one and done, but like I actually have actual conversations with them. And so, I actually want to not only share about my car, but I actually want to learn about who they are and why, I guess you could say in a way, why they're interested, and if they're building anything too. And so it's one of those things where, for me, again, it's more of building relationships and building connections with people, whether I don't talk to you ever again or whether I talk to you maybe once in a blue moon. That's all enough for me, just because, again, like, for me, in a way, I kind of want to, I guess, say, make a little bit of an impact in people's lives, and that goes with saying whether it's a positive or negative thing, I guess you could say. But yeah, I mean, meeting people with this car too, it's been fun, and especially, like, driving, I guess, again, driving down to Cali these past couple years with the car, it's like I've met a lot more people, just because they were interested in my car. And so, again, building those connections and building those friendships with people, it's been like the most rewarding thing for me ever. But yeah, I don't know, with this car, I don't really have much on it. I have the TEs, I have my AST two-way coilovers, I have my backyard special wing, I have my Zeeg 2 that I have, and yeah, that's really it. I've just been spending a lot of money more on maintenance and preventative maintenance on the car, and eventually I'll just, I'll get like a simple like lip kit, like an advanced kit or something like that for the car. I just want to, in a way, kind of keep it OEM plus. As much attention as it gets, I don't personally like the attention. There's a lot of guys who always want to, like, just, rev at me or try to race me on the freeway, and you can even ask my girlfriend, like, I drive like a fucking grandpa. Like, I'm literally cruising 60, 65 miles per hour, not in the left lane, mind you, but I'm cruising, and there's always some guy that always wants to, come up, creep up on me and try to, like, egg me on the race. And it's just like, no, man, I'm cool. I'm chilling. I'm just going to Safeway. I need some milk, and I'm not trying to get a ticket or nothing. But again, just there's been a lot of guys that have been helping me learn more about the car, and just, contributing either, parts, like like for the TEs, for example, I got my front pair from Henderson, and I got my rear pair from Nico. And so it's one of those things where, like, I've learned so much with the car, and I've been able to really kind of learn more about, I guess you could say, just modding the car in general. But it also goes that I didn't. Not everything was actually, I guess you could say, easy with the car. Um, there was one time, actually a couple things. Especially when I was like, one thing was when I was learning to drive the car, especially, and since the clutch was like super like aggressive, like it was like an on and off switch, I literally would get stuck on like a fucking speed bump for like a good 10, 15 minutes because at my office, the speed bumps are like little mountains, and so like literally I'm like revving the shit out of the clutch and like just trying to let it go, and like it would go, all of a sudden stall the car, and it was like fuck, like how does anyone fucking do this? But the shittiest thing was well, okay, not shittiest thing, but funniest thing was when one of the days when I was learning and Henderson was there, and he had his M3 at the time, his E36, not the E46. He let me drive it, and like it was like nothing. I was like, what the fuck? Like, why is your car so easy, and and like why is my car so hard? And I knew that it was like a racing clutch. But I was like, I'm thinking like, why the hell would anyone want to install this like as like even as a weekend car? It's like it's a pain in the butt. But since then, like I've had the clutch changed out for like a Science of Speed like sport clutch, so it's a little bit easier to drive. It's a little bit better. But yeah, even with experiences like that, it's like I a lot of the pains that I've had was with friends, I guess, and like they've helped me learn through it, and they've helped me work past it, right? Another time that I had a pain in the ass moment with this car was when I was installing the coilovers, and at the time they were my KWs, and with the rear, you kind of you want to use like a 2x4, and like I knew that you had to do it, but at the same time I thought that I could just like loosen up some of like the subframe pieces, whatever, and take out the coil easier. But my dumb ass, I ended up cross-threading one of like the bolts or whatever, and so like because there's like so much like I guess you could say tension or something on it, like the subframe piece was like just like pressing against the nut, and so like it wouldn't come out, and so like I went as far as like trying to drill it out and drilling the bolt out and everything, and I ended up just fucking that piece up, and so like my car was stuck on the lift for like and mind you, I think I started on a Saturday or Sunday, and I thought that I could just get this all done in one day, and I learned, don't ever try to fucking work on your car in one day, because you'll always run into some shit that will happen. But anyways, the car was stuck on the lift, and then I ended up having to get like another subframe piece from California overnighted to from some wrecked NSX, and I had to tow the car down to Zantac, and they fixed it up for me, and I was like, yo, like I'm just gonna follow the direction of what other people have done and just play it safe, because like yeah, there's some things you can figure out on your own and just do it yourself, but more than half the time, if a lot of people have already done it, just follow that way and just make it easier on yourself. But yeah, I mean, again, just with this car and just working on it and just kind of navigating my way through learning more about modding cars and more of like the technical stuff about it, it's just like it's a blast, and I'm not afraid of admitting that I don't know how to work on a car that much. I don't know how to work on the engine and stuff like that, which I want to learn, and I am learning, and I'm looking it up myself, or I'm asking friends to help me, so once I take care of all like the maintenance stuff, I'll do other basic just engine mods, the goal, do ITBs and whatnot, but that's just a little bit of money. But yeah, I don't know, I think it's definitely been a journey with photography and with the car and just the car community in general, and I've definitely learned a lot. And I guess if you could take one thing away from my story time, I guess is that don't be afraid to really ask for help, and don't be afraid to kind of just open yourself to other car guys, because at the end of the day, we're people. Yeah, some guys have, I guess you could say, better builds than us, or have more, I guess, play money than us, right? But it's not about the money, it's not about the parts, it's about the connections and the relationships that you have with people. Because at the end of the day, I could crash this car in the wall right now, and would I care? Yeah, I would. But I would care a lot, because I pay off the car next year. So yes. But my point is that I would care more about the relationships that I've made, and obviously, I wouldn't lose those relationships. The cars helped me, but it's not helping me keep those relationships, right? So, there's always another car, there's always another camera, there's always another part or whatever. But sometimes those connections that you make, you can't replace them, and you definitely can't replace it with anything that can only give you temporary happiness. Because sometimes you build a car and you burn bridges, you burn people, and at the end of the day, when all you have left is your car, or if your car is gone and you look around and there's no one standing by you, it's like, was it really worth it? So yeah, respect your friends, respect your elders, play nice with everyone, don't think you're hot shit, and just be chill, have fun, keep it 100, gang.